Ladies and gentlemen, it's now time to hear from a man that has a captivating tale of transformation. Brian Westbrook's journey is all about resilience and purpose. It started for Brian with a heart-wrenching, near-death experience in his family that sparked an unshakable determination. As a founder and executive director of Coalition Life, Brian's impact goes way beyond the norm. From sidewalk counseling to community engagement and pregnancy center services, he's not just making a difference, he's living proof that change is possible. Forget titles. Brian's an innovative leader, sought-after speaker, and a strategic advisor to pro-life advocates across the nation. He's behind over 3,700 life-altering turnarounds at abortion facilities in the Midwest. And the buzz around the journey is real. He's been featured in the New York Times, Washington Post, Wall Street Journal, and on CNN, not to mention countless local media outlets and radio shows, all echoing his message of hope and transformation. With his wife, Marissa, by his side, Brian finds unwavering support. Their 7th child, born this year, represents a legacy that they're crafting together from their St. Louis home. His journey may inspire all of us to forge a path of purpose, creating ripples of change beyond imagination. Tonight, we have the honor of hearing Brian speak as he unveils a tale that captures the incredible strength of the human spirit. Please join me in welcoming Brian Westbrook to Kansas City.
He stopped breathing. These 3 words changed my life forever. On the other side of my red Nokia brick cell phone was my wife, Marissa, at home. She was at home with our 4-week-old little boy, Ethan. I must have not said much because she repeated herself. She said, "Ethan stopped breathing. Meet me at DePaul Hospital right away." I left all my supplies at the office, and before I knew it, I was walking down the hallway of the emergency room. I must have been in a bit of a daze because everything seemed to move in slow motion. Nearly 15 nurses and technicians and doctors ran frantically in and out of Ethan's room, with my wife standing in the hallway with the same confused look in her eyes that I did. The first sound that I remember that day is hearing a doctor walk up to me and asking what hospital I would like Ethan to be airlifted to. I said, "Airlifted? What, airlifted? I mean, I just got here." She realized that I didn't quite understand what was going on, so she slowed down and explained that my son was in critical condition and needed immediate specialized care at a nearby children's hospital. Only a few minutes later, my wife and I were standing outside watching as a helicopter lifted off our son, taking him with them. After collecting a few personal effects, we walked into Cardinal Glennon Children's Hospital in St. Louis, and we were directed back to a dark hospital room where for the first time I was able to see and catch a glimpse of this frail little body with every tube and wire imaginable keeping him alive. And for the first time, a prayer was said. My parents, 2 faithful Lutherans, had called our pastor, who came to offer a short prayer. Ethan had RSV and pneumonia, and his little lungs were completely full of fluid. We spent the next 7 days in ICU with Ethan, trying to sleep on the floor or the waiting room, while Marissa attempted to breastfeed and pump and then eventually feed him through his feeding tubes. We were completely lost and completely out of control. Every day, the x-ray technician would come in with a huge machine and take images, and every day the results would come back the same. Terrible. No progress. And after 7 days, I had given up hope. And so, up until this point, though, in my life, everything had a logical solution with a logical problem. You know, I was working in an engineering firm after all, and we developed and debugged automation systems where everything that happened on the packaging or processing line could be seen on the computer and analyzed in real time. But here we were in the ICU, and all we could do is wait and have sleepless nights. So after more than a week, my wife and I journeyed down to the prayer chapel. I kneeled in the first row and I threw my arms up and I said, "God, take care of my little boy, and I'll rededicate my life to you." Now, God normally gets the better half of that bargain. Be careful what you ask for, right? Don't ask for patience, by the way. But of course, the next day, the x-ray results come in, and they were completely clear. Right? Praise be to God. So 3 days later, we take him home completely healthy and a completely healthy little boy. And today, he's your typical pain-in-the-butt teenager. In fact, he didn't finish his schoolwork, and so Michael gets to come with me. So praise be to God for Michael, yeah. A few of you got to meet him earlier. We'll tell Ethan all about it, right? Leaving that hospital, we knew we had to give back, but we didn't know how. Everything up until that point in my life was about working long hours, getting married, buying those 2 cars, and putting them in our 2-car garage. And whatever was left over, we saved. Saving for what, I'm not sure, but my grandmother said it was a good idea. But now, we're being called to give back. This is when we were approached by my mother-in-law to join the pro-life committee. Anyone here on a pro-life committee? Come on, I want to see these hands, right? Pro-life committees, yeah, you're all the same with your yummy cookies and punch and Jell-O salads. And yes, we are put on the committee's email list, where every single possible pro-life news article and fundraising letter could be forwarded to us on a daily basis. But apparently eating cookies and deleting forwarded emails was not what my mother-in-law had in mind when she asked us to be on the committee. She kept asking us to go and stand in front of the local abortion facility. And each time my answer was no. That's what the crazies do. Oh, and I meant it. So instead, we got involved in pro-life politics. We were given a list of strangers to call and invite them to vote for our favorite pro-life candidate. And every single time, they lost. You guys might remember 2008, and after all that, nearly every single one of the pro-life candidates around the nation lost with the wave of Obama's change, quote unquote. So after several political defeats, we finally did go out to the abortion facility. We would normally arrive in the afternoon because I'm quite the procrastinator when I'm going out to the abortion facility. We would arrive in the afternoon and we didn't have any signs or literature. We just simply stood there. My mother-in-law told us that we could save lives out in front of these abortion facilities, but all I witnessed was one young woman after another leaving in tears. And then we received one of these darn forwarded emails introducing us to David B. Wright. David started this thing called 40 Days for Life, and with a boyish smile and a low-budget video, convinced us that we should participate in this thing called 40 Days for Life and go out to the local abortion facility. And we said, great, we'll pull up the website and we'll scroll down, we'll click St. Louis, we'll sign up for a couple of hours and we'll be done. And we kept scrolling, and sure enough, we skipped the S's, and St. Louis wasn't on the list. Well, it couldn't be that hard. Let's go back to this pro-life committee and ask them to start one. In fact, they were the ones who forwarded us the email to begin with. And with great hesitation, they said, yes. And in only a few short days, the tables were turned, and I was the crazy one, inviting others to join us on the sidewalk, but with a little less cookies and punch. We did, in fact, launch that 40 Days for Life campaign in 2009, and we had 500 prayer volunteers join us out on the sidewalks, and 7 confirmed babies saved. It was that first campaign that I met Chuck Raymond, who shared his story of taking his then girlfriend to the same Planned Parenthood decades earlier to take the life of their very first child. He and others started joining our leadership team, and we were off to the races. And after 2.5 years and 5 campaigns covering every single day and every single hour, we had grown the numbers of volunteers to over 2,500, yet our leadership team was exhausted, and most of them quit. Chuck and his wife invited us over to their house for dinner to see if we could solve this leadership team problem. And after a lovely dinner, we found ourselves on the dining room floor, pushing toys and balls around with my children, while Chuck and I discussed what we would do next. And without really thinking through this idea, I just blurted out, maybe I should just quit my job and do pro-life work full-time. Why not? So Chuck was a financial advisor. I'm the gas, he's the brake, right? Hold on here. He quickly squashed this idea, and his comments were that this was a terrible plan. But after we left that evening, I couldn't shake from myself this still small voice that kept nagging at me to leave my job. After discussing with Marisa, I called Chuck up a few days later and told him our plans. He still thought it was a stupid idea, but after a bit of convincing, he agreed to be our first board president. I quit my job later that summer with no paycheck, no health insurance, no maternity care, and no 401k plan. Chuck wasn't the only one who thought I was crazy. My boss thought I was crazy. My parents and even other pro-life leaders thought I was crazy. I was told that I and my family were going to be poor the rest of our lives, and that we had real responsibilities to take care of our family. We ignored all of them, and in November of 2011, we launched Coalition Life full-time at an event just like this one. I had just left my job at an engineering firm and had absolutely no idea how to run a nonprofit or how to best serve these clients. But it was the pregnancy centers and pregnancy center directors just like Leah who came alongside me and helped me every step of the way. It was some hard days. I love our pregnancy centers, and I just love what you guys are doing here at Wyandotte Pregnancy Center. And I just want to thank Leah and every other pregnancy center director. Can we give Leah a big round of applause? You know, I learned very quickly that our friends at the pregnancy centers were vital to our success. In a sense, I became the sidewalk marketing arm of the pregnancy center. I would turn these clients around and immediately direct them to free pregnancy tests, free ultrasounds, and options coaching at a nearby pregnancy center. I learned from these pregnancy center directors all the complexities of tax forms and payroll and building a budget and really terrible, stupid stuff like that. And I quickly found that the sidewalk counseling wasn't all it was cracked up to be. It was not uncommon that we found that you would find me around the corner of Planned Parenthood calling Chuck up to quit one more time. It was one too many ambulances, one too many people yelling at me, one too many police officers, children dying, and women leaving in tears. He would walk me off the ledge, encourage me to continue, but I told him we needed a better plan. We needed a team. This is where we birthed the very first Life Choice intern team. These college students were the first paid sidewalk counseling team in the world. The frantic phone calls to Chuck started to slow down, but in 2017, after years of growing our team to full coverage, starting our own pregnancy center, and 2,000 turnarounds later, we were about to lose it all. We had just come off a pretty terrible fundraiser, which I hope doesn't happen tonight. And we were $52,000 short of our minimum goal. This was the weekend before the solar eclipse. You guys remember the solar eclipse? It came through St. Louis, maybe not so much here in Kansas City. But more important than the solar eclipse was we had a board of directors meeting that day. And this was the Saturday before. And they had promised that if we were not able to raise the $52,000, that they would start cutting most of our programs. And throughout this time, we started having more babies in our household, and my wife started kind of moving away from being involved with the ministry. But every once in a while, I would say, hey, I have this crazy idea. This Saturday was no different. So Marisa had gotten really used to saying no to these crazy ideas, as you might imagine. So I say this again, and so she rolls her eyes and she says, what is it? I said, hey, how about we split the remaining amount of this $52,000 and we'll put up $26,000 on Monday? And I had fully expected a no at that moment. But instead I got I wonder how we could do that. We had exactly $26,000 saved up in our checking account for those critical expenses as we welcomed our fifth baby. But we spent the rest of the weekend discussing these, and on Monday we together put together this email. And it's worth reading in part to you today. We'll try these glasses out. Apparently, when you start getting older, so does your eyesight. August 21, 2017, 8:35 a.m. Dear supporter, I first want to thank everyone who has given so generously both at the benefit dinner and last night. We made progress towards our summer appeal that ends today, but we are still $52,000 short. After much prayer and discussion, my entire family over the dinner table last night decided to personally offer a one-day-only matching challenge of $26,000. Every dollar that's pledged today by 6 p.m. will be important and will be matched dollar for dollar. This wasn't an easy decision for us to make, as we've taken 6 years to save up these funds, and they were earmarked for our new transit van for our growing family, much needed repairs and upgrades to our home, and the hospital bills for our 5th child. But as we prayed about the cost of not reaching this critical fundraising goal, it was a far greater burden to the women we serve than on our family. As Marisa and I discussed with our children last night, the implications of this decision, not one of them objected. They were all ready to give up toys, vacations, eating out, and possibly much more to, quote, save the babies, unquote. As we discussed this over the weekend, we kept comparing the inconveniences this would cause our family to the situations of our clients and the clients are going through. A pregnant rape victim who is going to be evicted from her home with 2 other children. A woman who had her car set on fire by her boyfriend after she made a choice for life. A woman who is living in an abandoned building without utilities. Our inconveniences, while difficult, didn't come close to the hardships these women are going through or the pain the child would go through if she chooses life, or if she chooses abortion. We had to ask ourselves, is God Almighty, creator of the universe and author of all life, also the master of ours? And are we willing to entrust our finances to him as to give up what we want and do what he wants? We had to be honest with ourselves and say, no, we had slowly grown away from entrusting God with our finances, and he was calling us to turn back to him and sacrifice with a major gift today. From our family to yours, Brian and Marisa Westbrook. Yeah, hey, sure. I think we included this photo as well. Yeah, sure. There's Michael with he's wearing a nice little suit and tie, but he's trying to squeeze into the photo, but it was wide, Why is he squeezing in? But yes, we've welcomed our 7th child now. And there's good news to all of this. Not only did we reach our goal, but we far surpassed our goal that day. Donors started calling me and our board requesting that their funds go directly towards the Westbrook portion of this match. Of course. We surpassed our goal by another $16,000, leaving the Westbrook family on the hook for another $10,000. And that $10,000 gift made a very lasting impression on our family in 2017. That was a major turning point for our family, that we could trust God 100% with our finances, with literally every single dollar we had left in our checking account. And he took care of us. This is God's ministry, and when we entrust every penny of our finances to God, then he will reward us. Okay. From that moment till today, our ministry has tripled in size. We have expanded rapidly across the Midwest. Our team is daily saving lives from abortion all throughout the Midwest in Illinois, and we're rapidly expanding to other sites around the country. And you know what? It took a little bit longer, but we eventually purchased that 15-passenger van, made the necessary repairs, and paid off all of our medical bills because God knew what he was doing. We have quite the landscape here in our country today. Many of you in this room have fought for 50 years or more to overturn Roe versus Wade. And I'm sure many of us had said over and over and over, if we just overturned Roe versus Wade, then it would be all over with. And about 4 or 5 years ago, I was talking with many attorneys who truly believed that we could overturn Roe versus Wade. And when I started reading articles from the pro-abortion side saying the same things, I knew it was only a matter of time. And then came the Dobbs decision in June of last year. And for about 15 seconds, I was excited. I ran to secure many of our supplies. We didn't know what was going to happen during that day. We started calling many of our team members. We pulled them off the sidewalk. We closed our pregnancy center, and we took our servers home, not knowing if they were going to be bombed or anything else. And this kind of hit a little too close to home here in Kansas with the failed ballot initiative. And as I travel all around the country and talk to many of these pro-life leaders around the country, everyone is asking about Kansas. What happened in Kansas, and what do we need to learn from each and every single one of you? You know, many inventors in history would talk about many of the things that they would invent and all the thousands of failures that they had. And here in Kansas, we have something that we can learn from. And what are we going to learn tonight? And what are we going to learn in the next week or 2 weeks or the next year or 2 years here in Kansas? Because the country is looking to you. And what are you going to do to respond here in Kansas? Kansas, I would say, when I would look at the map of the nation, I would generally say that Kansas was a pro-life state. And with a room as full as this, I know that it is. But we know that this is first and foremost, a spiritual battle. And so first and foremost, we come and pray, and we go out to the abortion facilities. We support our local pregnancy centers because we know that when we love these women and we support these women, that it's not about necessarily making abortion illegal, but it's about making abortion unthinkable. Tonight, Stan and Leah are going to ask you for a lot of money. And some of you tonight could cover the entire bill And I encourage you to do that. You know who you are. You do. No gift tonight is going to be too small. And for those handful in the room, no gift is too large. Some of you might want to match us at $26,000. I don't know. But the success or failure of this evening tonight has to do with the goal that they're going to set here and they're going to talk to you about here in just a minute. But it's also about giving both a single gift tonight and an ongoing monthly gift. In our pregnancy center, in our ministry, we know every single month exactly what is coming in through our ongoing monthly gifts, and these are critical to continue to plan as we move forward. And those single gifts make a huge difference as well as we start new initiatives, and I go to my wife and I say, hey, I have a crazy idea. But before we finish this evening, I wanted to share with you a story about Jaden and Trey. This is little baby Trey. His mother, Jaden, was 14 years old. And I don't know about you, but I have a 15-year-old at home. And this 15-year-old, yes, a pain in the butt, but I would have never imagined that he would get involved in anything that would end up with a woman pregnant. But here we are, a young lady pregnant at 14 years old, and she drives to the Fairview Heights abortion facility. It's just right across the river from St. Louis, and meets one of our sidewalk counselors there in front of the abortion facility. They talk to her, convince her to leave, give her the information, take down her information. We start chatting at the pregnancy center with her and giving her ongoing support. But a few weeks later, Jaden's mother finds out about the pregnancy. Jaden's mother then takes her immediately back to Planned Parenthood and forces her to have a chemical abortion. There in the Planned Parenthood abortion facility, Jaden, all she did was cry and pull out her phone and start texting our pregnancy center. And all we said was, "We've got you, just don't take the second pill." Jaden and her mother went home. Planned Parenthood had told her that she was maybe 6 to 8 weeks pregnant. She went home. The next day, she was supposed to take the second pill. She put it in her cheek as her mother looked into her mouth just to make sure. A few minutes later, she spits it out in the trash, and she calls up our team. We pick her up and take her to a partner pregnancy center that offers abortion pill reversal. A few weeks later, this mom figures out that Jaden had not actually taken the second pill, and she kicks her out of her house. She started staying with her boyfriend. We were able to get her in with an ultrasound, and she was, in fact, not 6 to 8 weeks pregnant. She was 26 weeks pregnant. Eventually, Mom came around, and a few weeks later, Jaden gave birth to baby Trey. Shortly after that, we were able to meet them for a photo shoot. And praise be to God. And of course, the local church couldn't help it, but they wanted to bless her with a baby shower and hundreds of gifts. were showered upon her and her new baby. Jaden's mom didn't think any of this would be possible. And Jaden's mother said to our team, people like us don't have things like this happen to us. People like us. This is so wonderful, and we can't thank you enough. Tonight, we have a huge opportunity to make a major difference and squash the goal that they have here at Wyandotte Pregnancy Center. Tonight, we have an opportunity to move the needle in Kansas City and ultimately see a world that abortion is unthinkable. And my prayer for each and every single one of you tonight is to know that your dollars, your sacrifice has saved a baby. And I know that through Wyandotte Pregnancy Center, you will this next year. And maybe you'll get to meet one of these babies, and maybe you'll get to talk to one of these ladies over here tonight. Maybe you won't. But I know that at the end of the day, on our final day when we meet our Maker, we will all hear, well done, good and faithful servant. Thank you.